claims, which is nice. And then I wrote up the rest of the claims that I was to do, having inspected them yesterday. And I am going to I had to do those revisions that this guy sent me over. And I mean, stupid stuff. Like, the guy is asking me to do a small room content remove and reset when the room is 302 square feet. That's not a small room. A small room is like 20 square feet. Sorry, not a small room is like 100 square feet. And so I had to do that. And then he asked me to do repairs instead of replacements on this roof, on 3 roofs. But those roofs, most of them are all older, like near the end of their lifespan. So I'm just asking, I emailed him. I was like, dog, you for real right now? Are we doing this? Seriously? So we'll see what he responds back with today. Hopefully he just is able to go with it and move forward, so we don't have to go back and forth for the next couple of days. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Pretty much what happened yesterday. After that, I just excuse me. After that, I just sat around and talked with some friends on Discord. I listened to more of the Afroman trial. Oh my gosh, I mean, this is like a full-fledged thing, and the guy, first of all, Afroman's only witness that he brought in was a divorcee, ex-wife of one of the cops. But they're also interviewing like a bunch of the cops from the station, and the guy won the case. It's unbelievable. It's riveting. It's riveting to listen to all this stuff, and it makes the time go by fast. I always enjoyed cross-examination. Like, I like watching debates and stuff like that, so I've always enjoyed cross-examinations, and being able to see like a modern court proceeding is awesome. Really cool. That was pretty cool to watch. Pretty fun to watch. And the guy won. Good for him. He has the freedom to speak on whatever he wants to, and his way of doing that is making songs, and he made songs making fun of the police officers. But he can do that, and I'd have to worry about obviously there are repercussions to everything you do, right? Like, there are repercussions to certain things you say. Like, just look at Alex Jones. You say something that goes a little too far, you get kind of screwed. But then again, when literally the whole world is after you, or the whole American government is after you, you don't really have a did or a recent statement he made. And so that's how I know about that. We got 6 more for today, 6 more claims. We are gonna knock them down just like the 2 days before. And I'm looking forward to it because I mean, the more I look at it, every place I'm going to is in a nice neighborhood. Every place I'm going to has old roofs, like old roofs. And so these are all just, you know, big winners, big winner claims. Not big winter claims, big winner. Started. This is kind of the intro to my day. So I don't really have anything else to talk about, considering that nothing has really transpired thus far. And so I will catch you when more things come to pass. All right, we are on to the 3rd inspection of the day, and the day has gone pretty good so far. The first house was it was a 3-tap shingle house, pretty good damage, old roof. It's pretty quick, you know. Wind stuff is usually pretty quick unless it's like a tornado or something like that, and there's just a lot of spread out damage. So yeah, I was finished with that one, and the guy was working on a Corvette, like a really nice Corvette that his dad had bought and never finished, but he's like gutting the whole thing out, and it only has 40,000 miles, but it's like this really old nice Corvette. So that, and I was heading over to my second one, and I was already feeling rumblings. I was feeling rumblings in my belly from my meal last night, and the clock was starting to tick. You know, the clock was ticking down. So I was able to finish that second inspection, but on the way to the third one, my stomach was like, you gotta go. So I was frantically looking for a gas station that I could relieve myself in. And it took some time, but I ended up finding one. It was like this giant lick of snow. And I walk in there, I ask the lady, where's the bathroom? She points me to the left side of the building. And so I go, and to my surprise, to my delight, to my enjoyment, to my glee, the bathroom is a private bathroom. So I could blow that thing up as much as I want to and not worry about the social anxiety of having someone, the potential of having someone walk in and sit in the stall next to me. Because trust me, there are some freaks out there who do not care and will just go in and blow up a toilet with five other dudes in the bathroom and not care. But me, I like to think myself that to say, I was able to find a bathroom. I was able to, you know, maybe I'm providing a bit too much information, but, you know, I don't care. These videos are for myself to document my work trips so that I could have something to remember them by. And I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about. So I'm not worried about it. Who knows? And even if I do blow up, I'm going to act like I don't know nobody. Anyway, we are on to the third inspection of the day. Just cruising at the moment. Having a good time on the road. Watch this. That is nice. Fuel up towards the middle of the day. I have fully awoken since the day has started, and so I no longer have the grogginess of the first hour or two of the morning, and so I'm energized and ready to get going and see what is waiting for me as the day goes by. As I work through the rest of the day. Pretty much listened to everything. You know, I talked about it earlier in the last clip, but I pretty much finished everything with that Afroman trial. Very, very, very entertaining. That man was a class act, and those cops, you know, I don't want to say they deserved what they got coming, but maybe I shouldn't say it like that. Maybe that's not the right way of saying it. They got what was coming. Therefore, they got what they deserved. You know, they didn't find anything criminality-wise in his house, and they broke down his doors, and I think they took his money. I think so. I don't know if he won anything in the case. I think it was just the decision, the rectifying his name. That was the whole point of doing that. And so he gets to walk away with his name being clear. That's a good thing. You know, that's what our legal process is about. It's to clear names and to establish the truth. Well, you know, in some cases. I thought the judge was fair. Some people were saying otherwise, that he was kind of disappointed with the verdict, but I don't know. From what I got watching it, I thought the judge was making pretty fair points. I'm not an expert, but I think he was not partial to either side, and like whenever they would bring up objections and like points of note or whatever, he would be pretty not lax, but pretty good at keeping both sides accountable to what was going on. So I thought that was good. Sabbath day, so I'm going to plan not to work on the Sabbath day. And I'm going to plan to kind of soak stuff in. Maybe I'll walk around the park a bit, walk around the RV park and see what they have. They have a mini golf course, and I think go-karts. So, the opportunities are pretty much endless. As far as that goes. I still gotta find a church that I'm gonna go to. Get some good rest. Maybe take a nap throughout the middle of the day. I don't respect a man who naps. What are you doing napping? The whole world is moving and you're napping. You gotta take naps. You gotta recharge. You gotta sleep, bro. You gotta get some good sleep in. Rewire your brain, recharge your batteries, so that you got all the energy you need for whatever activities you got going on moving forward. That's all I got for now. I'll leave it at that for this part of the day so far, and I will catch up with you later. I wanted to make a quick video as I am winding down to the end of the day, because the last house that I went to had a pretty interesting, not history, but like it was a pretty interesting situation, and what happened was the owner had been living there for 54 years. It's a 100-year-old house, and it's got a discontinued shingle on there. I think it's like a T-lock shingle, and he has shingles, a layer of shingles underneath that, but underneath the layer of shingles he has a cedar shake roof. So there isn't even sheathing under the roof. So first of all, they're discontinued. Second of all, there's another layer, and then third of all, there is a final layer of cedar shake shingles, which need to be removed. So that's going to turn out to be a pretty big claim, man. That's going to be a nice size claim. And it's not even that big of a roof. It's not even anything crazy, but it's pretty steep and it's a high roof, so you could add those charges to it. Yeah, it's going to be a really full claim. It's going to be a nice big, it's going to be the biggest claim, the biggest, and I'm actually, there are like certain claims that you're like, man, I am not excited to write this one up, and then there are ones where you're like, ooh, I'm excited to write this one up. It's almost like a game, really. Like, it's like you are playing a video game when you are doing this job, because you get to sketch the structures, the houses that you're inspecting in Xactimate, and you're able to write an estimate for replacing whatever needs to be replaced or repairing, and yeah, it's pretty cool. Hold on, my brother's calling me at the moment. I'll be right back. All right, we back. Yeah, my brother just called me, wanted to tell me something about a video he watched. The Black Hebrew Israelite debating an Orthodox Christian, and might end up watching that. Interesting stuff. I've listened to a bit of what that guy has to say it's all stupid, you know. They said, the Bible said we arrived on ships, so it's talking about slavery. First of all, that was written thousands of years ago before slavery. So I don't know what you're talking about. Well, thousands of years ago before the slavery of the blacks in America. So I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, they're selling Girl Scout cookies. I think the Girl Scout cookies, I don't know, the only good ones are like the Thin Mints and that the caramel ones, you know. Other ones are not too good. Not too good. I don't even know if that organization is good. Bunch of feminist woke liberals. Yeah, we're down to the last two claims of the day. Again, another good day. Having a good time up here in Michigan, outside of Detroit. My friend's brother is actually going to be flying in, so I might meet up with him. Excuse me. Might meet up with him. I told him we got mini golf at the place that I'm staying at and go-karts. He didn't sound too excited about the prospect of doing something like that, but you know, might as well shoot your shot when you have the chance. He's a cool guy. He's I don't know what he does. I think he works on like, I don't think it's elevators. I think he does like car machinery programming or something like that. And he just travels, he's kind of like me, he travels across the country, but the company buys him like rental cars and hotel stays and stuff like that, so he gets it better than me. He doesn't have to spend that money out of pocket and watch his money waste away into the sinking abyss of money death. Money, I don't know. So yeah, he's coming. I don't know if he's even gonna meet up with me. Like, dude, I know you're busy with work, but you know, you can take some time off. You don't gotta, okay. Quick pause. I am driving past a Buffalo Wild Wings right now that is sat on the coastline of a lake. That is prime real estate right there. That is A1, D1 real estate. That is, like, dude, Buffalo, if I'm eating Buffalo Wild Wings and I could sit on the coast, dude, I'm probably just staying at that Buffalo Wild Wings all day. And maybe even into the next day. I might stop there, honestly. I would 100% stop there if it was BOGO boneless today, because that is the main reason to go to Buffalo Wild Wings, is to get those BOGO boneless wings. And but alas, it is Saturday and not Thursday, and I cannot force the workers to serve me the BOGO boneless on a Saturday. But anyway, if I'm still here into the next week, until later next week, and I get the chance, I might as well do it. I don't know if I passed where I'm supposed to go. No, I think I'm still going straight. There's no way I drove 8 miles so far. So yeah, we are cruising through the day, owning the day, not letting the day own us, and having a good time while we're doing it. That's all I got right now. We got another day in the books. Done with all of my claims for the day. I think the last I spoke, the last I recorded, I had 2 more to do, and so I'm done with those 2. Now I'm just driving back home. I got about an hour-long drive back home, and yeah, the last 2 went pretty well. The guy wasn't home for the second to last one, but he had a very, very, like an old dog. I don't even know what kind of dog it is, but it was brown and like had whiskers almost. But it was a cute dog. And he had chickens too who were following me around while I was doing my job. And then the last one, it was like, I swear I was driving through the area and I was just waiting for an Amish carriage. Chariot, an Amish carriage to just pull up right next to me and greet me, because it was kind of in the middle of nowhere. But this guy, this last claim went pretty well. I drove past this. Oh, let me tell you, I thought I was done with the bowel movements for today, but right before I got to that last claim, I needed to find a gas station real quick. Luckily, again, I found another bathroom, another private bathroom. So it was almost heaven sent that I was able to find a private bathroom for me to do my business in. So I went to the last claim. I finished it there. I did pass. Unfortunately, it was closed, but I did pass this muscle car place that I really wanted to go into, and maybe take some pictures of the cars and stuff like that. But I was not able to because they are closed, and so for that reason, I was not able to go. Yeah, I'm just driving back home. I stopped by, got some Mexican food. The Mexican food is pretty good, I will say. It was pretty good. I got some enchiladas, and of course I devoured those chips that they give you as an appetizer. And I am probably going to crash by the time I get back to my RV, but I can't do that because I gotta finish writing up these claims. I'm gonna get back, I'm gonna take a shower, and then I'm gonna start writing these claims up and getting the work done for the day. Then I got a day off tomorrow. I got a good day off tomorrow. I don't have to worry about doing work. I just gotta schedule a bunch of stuff for the next couple of days, the upcoming week, and I'll be good to go. Have a good week ahead of me, let's hope. And yeah, I texted my pastor from the church that I was going to while I was living in Chicago, and he recommended me a church, so I'm probably going to go to that one and worship with people there, so that my shoulder or my back is killing me. I think it's just how I'm sitting in this truck when I'm driving. My back is killing me. I just gotta sit up straight, sit up symmetrically, vertically, so that I don't have back pain. I used to have really bad lower back pain, but it seems like that has all but subsided. And so I don't have that problem anymore. What do I want to talk about? Because I've got a good bit to drive before I get back to where I'm going, and I've got some. Go ahead, buddy.
he was speeding up, I was speeding up. I decided to let him go, be a good Samaritan. What do I want to talk about? Let's talk about one of my favorite stories from the Old Testament, and the story that I am talking about is from the book of Judges. So, to just provide some context, leading up to the book of Judges, it goes Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, and Judges. So, Moses is about to die right before they reach the Promised Land, and Joshua goes in and he takes the Promised Land. And I think Joshua ends with saying, "And there was no king in Israel in those days, and everyone did what was right in their own sight." And so you have this story of this theocratic nation living in ancient Israel, and God, because they don't have kings to rule over them, God raises up these judges. And so all the way, I think it's chapter 18, that's the story that I want to talk about. So leading all the way up to chapter 18, you've got people like Baruch, Delilah, Samson, Gideon, Jephthah, and a couple other people that God raises up as judges. And so, you have the story of Baruch, who I think is the guy who kills a bunch of people with a jawbone in defending Israel. I think Jephthah is the guy who he asks God to deliver Israel from their enemies, and if he does, he will sacrifice the first thing he sees when he walks back home, and then the first thing that greets him when he comes back home is his daughter. I don't know if he actually sacrificed her or if he gave her up to people, because I think it says that she was a virgin, so I don't know if he gave her up to people or if he actually sacrificed her. We're not told. But you have those two stories. Then you have Gideon, I think, is before Samson. Gideon, he's the one who God shows up to him and he's like, "God, if you are God, if this is God talking with me, then make this piece of fleece wet and the ground around it all dry." So he does that, and then he falls asleep and he sees that God did that, and then he's like, "Just to make sure, make the ground all wet and the fleece dry." And then he falls asleep and God does that, and he's like, "Okay, I know God, this is God, that God is doing this." So he goes out and he assembles I think it's tens of thousands of Israelites, where he goes out and they are going to get ready to go to war with this nation. And God says, "This is too many people. This is too many people. I need to show my power." And so he tells Gideon, he's like, "Tell anyone who doesn't want to fight to go home." And so a bunch of people go home. He's left with thousands of people. And God is like, "This is still too many people. Tell the people to go drink water by the brook, and whoever gets down on their knees and laps the water like a dog, tell them to go home, or tell them to stay." I don't know which one, but two different people. Whoever gets on their knees and laps like a dog, or whoever, I think, just draws up the water to drink it. And one of the two groups is supposed to go home. So one of the two groups eventually leaves, and Gideon is left with 300 people. And Gideon and these 300 people are only armed with lamps, torches, and jars, and trumpets. And as they're about to go attack this nation, they all sound their trumpets, and the ground shakes, and the people are so scared that they start turning on each other and killing each other. And so while they're doing that, the Israelites get in there and they kill the rest of the people. And then you got Samson, of course, who God says he is going to be a Nazirite, so he will never drink wine and he will never cut his hair. And so Samson grows up, and there are a whole bunch of rules that a Nazirite has to go through. Like, they can't touch a dead body, they can't be near a dead body. But Samson, he doesn't care about that. He grows up and he finds this Philistine wife that he's really into, and he's like, I want to marry her. And he says, I want to marry her. And then one day he's coming back home and he sees I think he sees a dead lion or he kills a lion, one of the two. But the dead lion is there, and in the lion is honey. And so he takes the honey out of the lion, and I think he brings it back to his family, or he eats it himself. And he uses this instance as a riddle for his wife's friends, because his wife's friends said, you have to do something if you marry her. And then he's like, okay, but if you can't answer this riddle, I don't have to do that, or you have to give me a bunch of stuff if you can't answer this riddle. So he gives them this riddle. I think like something dead, something sweet. Out of the devourer came something to eat, or it came something sweet. And they're like stressing out for the first 2 days because they're like, oh man, we're never going to be able to answer this. We don't know the answer to this. And so they beg his wife to beg him to tell her the answer. And he does. He breaks, he simps, he simps hard for her. And he tells her the answer. And she tells her friends. And they're like, what is sweeter than honey? And what is more fierce than a lion? And so they answer the question. And he gets mad, and he gives up a bunch of stuff. But what he ends up doing is he ends up tying a bunch of foxes' tails together and setting them on fire and letting them loose into the town and burning everything up. And after all this, his girl bangs his friend. His girl leaves him and goes to bang his friend. And he's like, okay, I've had enough of this. And so time goes on, and eventually Samson is enticed by another prostitute. He's enticed by her. I can't remember her name. I don't know if it's Deborah or Delilah. One of those two is either a judge or the prostitute that Samson gets strung up with. And so she what is it called? She, like, I don't know if I think she ties him up, or the Philistines tie him up, and they're what is it called? They're trying to capture him because he's causing so many problems. But every time they trap him in something, he breaks free, and she's like, please tell me where your power comes from. And then he's like, oh, if they bind me with this, then I can't get out. But he gets out. And then he says, if they bind me with this, I can't get out. And then he gets out. But finally, dude, he falls hard again. I mean, this dude simped for a freaking prostitute, dude. Like, come on, bro. Who are you? Fresh and fit? Falling for a prostitute like that? And so the Philistines finally capture him because he tells her that my power comes from my hair. I've never cut my hair in all my life. And so what she does is she cuts off his hair. And so he loses all of his strength. And I think it says God's spirit departs from him or something like that. he's no longer able to break through the chains. So the Philistines come in, and what they do is they gouge out his eyes and they make him a slave. They make him not even a slave, they make him like a stripper kind of dancer party trick or whatever. And so while he's there, his eyes are gouged out, and he is chained to these pillars that are holding up this palace that the Philistines are in. And what they're doing is they're celebrating their capture of Samson. And as they're doing that, his hair grows back over time, and he prays to God saying, "Let me bring my enemies down." So eventually he gains his strength back, and he just tears the entire palace down. And I think it says like he kills somewhere over like tens of thousands of people or something like that, or 1,000 people, I don't know, thousands of people. And that leads into, it leads into one story, but I don't know, that one is, it's about a Levite and his idols and stuff like that, and, it's not that interesting. But then it leads to my favorite part of the book of Judges, where there is I think it's a Levite, and he has a concubine. He has a prostitute. He has it's like a slave wife almost, I think, maybe. And he's with this concubine, and he's looking for somewhere to stay. So he goes and he sits in this town square, and the sun is starting to set, and this old man, I think old man, or man, just normal man, comes and he's like, "It is not good for you to sit in the square like this, so please come to my house." And so he goes to his house, and they're eating and drinking and they're having a good time, and all of a sudden they hear this riot of people outside knocking on the door. And so they go, and the old man goes out there, and he's like, "What's going on? What do you guys want?" And they're like, "We saw the Levite come to your house, and we want to know him. We want to have sex with him. We want to sodomize him." And he's like, no, this is my guest. Please do not do this. And the Levite is like, and they keep pushing on and doing that. And the Levite is like, "Here, please, just take my concubine and, let it be. I'm not trying to get, rumped up the bum." And he gives them his concubine, and the whole night, that whole riot of people are just ravaging the concubine. And it's this horrible event that happens. And so he's like, "All right, I'm ready to leave once the morning comes." And he goes and he sees his concubine out there just laying on the ground, and he sees that they raped her so, I probably shouldn't have said that, they violated her so bad that she's dead. So to send a message to all of Israel, he goes and he takes his concubine and he cuts her up in 12 different pieces, signifying the 12 tribes of Israel. And he sends all of the pieces to the different tribes in Israel. And that's when the Israelites come together, and they're like, "Okay, we all need to talk with each other and figure out what we're going to do about these people," because they were fellow Israelites who did this horrible act against the Levite's concubine. And so they go, it's the Benjamites who do this, and they go and they're like, "Okay, we got to kill these people. We got to get rid of them. They can't be doing this kind of stuff." And so that leads into the later chapters of the book of Judges, where there's a war between pretty much all of Israel against the Benjamites, and they almost eradicate them, and they're like, "Wait, these are our brothers, we can't completely eradicate them, so we have to find them wives," and they find them wives, and then that's kind of how the book of Judges ends. But all that to say, why is that my favorite story, or one of my favorite stories in the Old Testament? It's because, for me, it symbolizes a lot of what was going on with Sodom and Gomorrah, where Lot and his family were let the angels into their house, and the people of Sodom and Gomorrah, because they were all so gay, wanted to violate the angels. and there was a riot. They wanted to violate the angels so bad, and they were so gay, that even when the angels opened the door and blinded them, they didn't stop to look around and be like, wait, huh? Like, you would have thought they would have all went silent, and one person would have been like, I can't see, and then everyone else would have been like, I can't see either, and they would all, stop. They would all get lost in not being able to see. But no, they were so gay that even though they were struck blind, they were still trying to make their way into the house and violate the angels. And so they, what is it called? The angels and Lot and his family escape the house, the town, and then God rains fire and brimstone onto Sodom and Gomorrah. Excuse me. And basically, pulverizes that city. And then, you get the whole story of Lot and his wife, and God tells him not to look back, but she looks back and turns into a pillar of salt. And so it's just Lot and his two daughters at this point. Kind of on a side note, Lot and his two daughters, they go and they live in these caves for a bit in the hilltops or something like that, and the daughters are like, we got no one to share our to spread our offspring with. So they get their dad so drunk the one night, the one daughter sleeps with their dad, and then they get him drunk another night, and then the other daughter sleeps with their dad, and it's like, bruh, you can't be for real right now. So yeah, that's why that chapter in the book of Judges is one of my favorite stories in the Old Testament, because it reminds me a lot about Sodom and Gomorrah and what happened there. The Old Testament is full of a lot of cool, interesting, gory, like war stories. It really is like, the Bible is a library, so it is like one of the most interesting. It was originally called a codex, so it's one of the most interesting codexes in history. Obviously, because it's inspired by God, and it's got the story of human history in there, and human nature and whatnot. So yeah, that's something interesting I could talk about. What else? What else is something interesting? Interesting in the Old Testament. I always thought it was funny how Moses, the person who wrote the first 5 books of the Old Testament, says at one point, and I think in the book of Numbers, that it literally says, now Moses was the most humble man on earth at the time. And it's like, don't you kind of invalidate that statement when you write that, Moses? Maybe he didn't write it, maybe someone else wrote it. Maybe he was like, hey, Joshua, you mind writing this for me so I don't have to be accused of hyping myself up? I don't know. We'll know one day. We'll know one day who wrote that stuff. Yeah, oh, and the story with Sodom and Gomorrah, it's funny because, the people say, ooh, where could I find the Trinity in the Bible? Where could I find the Trinity in the Old Testament? No, there's no Trinity in the Old Testament. Yeah, and literally in the story leading up to Sodom and Gomorrah and the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, first of all, it says that God shows up to talk to Abraham as a human, okay? And then, while he's still there, and God is raining down fire and brimstone from heaven, it says that God, who is standing next to Abraham, rained down heaven from God, rained down fire and brimstone from God in heaven. How does that work? Come on, genius. You tell me that.
Ooh, there's no Trinity in the Old Testament. There's no Trinity in the Bible.
Idiot. You can't see what you don't want to see, you know? Yeah, so that's a pretty cool part of the whole Sodom and Gomorrah story, is that it's God raining down fire and brimstone from God in heaven. So, you know, God is there eating with Abraham, and he's also raining down fire and brimstone from heaven. And then, you know, you look at the book of Genesis, and it says that the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. It says that God walked with Adam in the garden. It says that let us make man in our image, which, you know, you could interpret that some way, but most people interpret it as a God referring to himself in thrpersons. So I don't want to hear all this crap of there's no Trinity in the Old Testament. There's you know, God shows up as an angel of the Lord. There's an angel of the Lord who is called the Lord. He literally shows up to Samson's parents, and they sacrifice stuff to him, and he accepts the sacrifice. But we're told that God cannot be seen. We're told that you know, God is in the highest heavens, but we see God descend onto the earthly plane and show himself to his people, and they don't die. You know, Moses saw God's back. Elijah, I don't think he saw God, but he heard God's voice. And when he went out to, you know, I know I talked about it, was it yesterday? I think yesterday. But Elijah, when he went out to see God, he had a scarf covering his face, and there was only one eye, I think, that could look out of the scarf. So that was pretty cool. And then, you know, like Moses only saw God's backside. Elijah only heard God's voice. And then in the New Testament, you have Jesus, who is the Son of God, who is proclaiming himself to be God in the flesh. And he goes out to the Mount of Transfiguration, and who is up there with him? The two people who, you know, symbolize the law and the prophets, but also the two people who wanted to see God. Because I think Moses himself said, you know, show me your glory. And God was like, no, you could only see my backside. And so here we have Moses and Elijah, who did not get the chance to see God in his fullness, see God as the God-man, and have that promise or have that wish fulfilled of them. And so I think that's pretty cool. Yep, I've still got plenty of ways to go. I haven't even gotten off the first exit. I seriously thought I was going to Canada for some reason, and then I looked at my car and it said I was going southeast, so I was relieved. I thought I was going to be pulling up to a Canadian customs, and that I was going to be screwed because I don't have any documentation allowing me to go there. Supposedly you used to just be able to go up to Canada with a driver's license. Now you need to do it with the passport. I would never go up there though. What do they got up there for me, dude? Just more cold weather. No thanks. Yeah, we're just chilling. Letting the days go by, taking in the nice weather. Well, today was not so nice. It's been cold all day. Yesterday was beautiful. So here's to hoping for more good times and a successful deployment. I am going to leave it at that for now because I don't want to go on forever. I don't know. I kind of want to keep these videos at a even pace, not go, too long. And so, yeah, I'm probably gonna leave it there for now at least. Maybe if something else comes up within the day, I might. If I go out and get some more food later in the night, or if I think of something more interesting to talk about.